Hey guys, hope you're doing well. I've picked Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn for a fight to study today. I picked round 11 in particular after Daniel told me to. So obviously the consensus around this round is that it's a very action-packed round, very grueling round for both boxers, and it definitely is after watching it. But there's also a surprisingly large amount to learn from in this fight as well. So let's get straight into it and we'll see how it goes. All right. So let's break down both of their four decisions right now. So the first thing that Chris Eubank's going to do is he's going to throw his jab for a close range entry and then try to come in and smother before throwing out his right hand, okay? So we can see that already this round, his main intent is going to be to smother and get into close range, okay? You can see Conor Benn come out straight away, dip low, use his block high, and then look for a counter as he comes forward, try for this 2 to the body before he accidentally loses his balance and then gets pushed away. Here, Chris Eubank's going to go into a looks backward system, and then once he sees this feint from Conor Benn as he moves forward, he obviously feints here, Conor Benn with a hard slip look. Chris Eubank's seen that coming, he's looking for a counter, he pulls and tries to hook over the top, or sort of jab over the top, okay? He then tries to engage in close range, but he sees Conor Benn move backwards into this slip position, right? And then he just goes to or at close range and then tries to use some defense. He then also smothers here as well at the end. Conor Benn, however, once he sees that this sort of smother is almost a sort of feint that's got him out of position, he decides to retaliate straight away, change his position, and throw one to the body, one to the head, okay? They then get on this clinch here, as you can see, and Eubank's picked his side, hasn't he? He's picked the right side, and he's going to try and land this right hook around to the body. You can see Conor Benn's arm straight away wrap around the back of Chris Eubank, and then try to push him a little bit and create some space for his right hand so that he can land it. Chris Eubank gets very sideways on here, making that a hard option, and then the referee decides to clinch instead. There's going to be a little messy but quite interesting close range work that we'll see today. He's going to go for a jab to the head, change his level, and then a right body shot before coming in with a smother. He's picked his side again. He's on the left side now as he smothers with his right shoulder, okay? Conor Benn's going to react to this by, as you can see here, he was trying to look for a counter straight away. He uses 2 shots here. He sees that he's being pushed off balance. Obviously, Chris Eubank's on his chest and he's making, he's trying to make Conor Benn sort of posture up, right? Conor Benn's going to do something really interesting here. If you look at his back foot, here he's in a wide base. He's going to throw the right hook to the body as he steps out, and this gets him in a much cleaner base, and then he throws this left hook to the body. He's now kind of postured up, however, and as he pulls away with this right hand, he gets a little bit caught on the chest by this left hook by Chris Eubank. Chris Eubank's sort of smothering forward. Once he sees that Conor Benn's created some space, he's going to launch himself in with this right hook to the body before rolling in and trying to engage again with his shoulder here. Again, and Chris Eubank always being first, he's going to separate from this clinch, he's going to slip inside, he's going to try for this left hook or left uppercut sort of punch to the body here, and then he's going to come low, try to use the right hook to the body, and then the left hook up top, and then is going to go for another 2-punch, 3-punch combination before Conor Benn clinches. What do we see here? We see Conor Benn change his level straight away off the clinch, then try find his own shot. He sort of falls backwards. He tries for this left hook to the body, which is pretty good because, again, if you look at his back foot, he set his foot and his base is a little bit better. He obviously doesn't have his right hand up, so this clubbing left hook around does kind of catch him. And then he isn't going to do the right thing. He's going to pull away with not much intentional defense, and then that's when he gets caught. The referee pulls them off and then they get back into it. Conor Benn is straight away going to get back into his looking for a counter. He's going to feint low with his lead arm look and then try to come for a right to the body. If we look at Chris Eubank, though, look at this. He's just staying in position, looking for a counter, waiting, and he uses a simultaneous counter. Now, this is timing someone as they come in. It isn't defending and then throwing your own shot in return. So he's waiting. He sees Conor Benn drop the level, And then boom, catches him with this great left uppercut here, before ducking low and bending at the waist, smothering the rest of the counter shots from Conor Benn. Conor Benn's trying to work a little bit on the inside here, sort of lands around the back. There's still a huge amount of hip space in this clinch. So Chris Eubank's just going to go for a right uppercut and then a right hand around the guard. And you see Conor Benn now pulling Chris Eubank in before freeing his right hand, and then boom, a lovely right uppercut to the body there. Really good shot. He then changes the angle on Chris Eubank, but I think the referee's going to break them up here. And again, now look at this great look from Conor Benn. Chris Eubank, this whole fight has been completely conditioned to the fact that Conor Benn loves timing the jab with this low block look and then coming around with the right hand. So as you can see here, he does it again and he sort of uses it as a look and a feint, Conor Benn. And you see how Chris Eubank Jr. just sort of backs off, pulls away and just waits for the reaction of Conor Benn. Conor Benn then feels like it's safe for some reason, so Chris Eubank's straight away going to capitalise on it, and he's actually just going to try catch him with a jab and again go for that right hook to the body. You see Conor Benn use a little bit of good distance here, and he actually frames a little bit with his lead arm as he backs off, and then once Eubank kind of lazily thinks he has an option here and just launches himself in with a jab and sort of falls in, Conor Benn very reactively, he just goes slip and then boom, come up with the left hook. Now, it doesn't really land, but it could have been hurtful. And then they get into this clinch position. Now, here's an interesting exchange because my friend Sean, who was watching the fight with me, actually had predicted that this was the combination that was going to knock out Conor Benn. Obviously, it didn't, but I can definitely see why he said it. It's a great look for a counter by Chris Eubank here, and he's just going to watch how Conor Benn steps in. Then he's going to step back, drop a hook, and then drop his uppercut here, roll out, and then reset off to his right. Wonderful work. Probably the best work he has this round in terms of clean, effective, technical boxing. Also, Conor Benn was just a little bit silly here. He feints low and then tries to come up with the right hand before getting caught twice. And he tries to work a little bit more. But each other, you see Conor Benn's parry hand up, but nowhere near where it should be. And then all Chris Eubank's going to do is, from this looks battle, he's just going to feint it a little bit and then come up with a jab. And that makes it super difficult for Conor Benn to time, let alone that I don't think he has a great jab defense anyway. But he does get caught here, tries to frame on Chris Eubank as he moves backwards. His parry hand's nowhere where it should be and not purposeful enough. And then boom, gets caught with another little jab there. Look at this feint again by Conor Benn. Boom, he gets low. It makes Chris Eubank super defensive. And then Conor Benn's going to try to attack a little bit the body. The awkward defensive movements from Chris Eubank, however, stop this, right? Conor Benn's then going to decide to get into his lead hand game a little bit more here. And he's going to jab here. He's going to move around to his left. And then from this low position again, going to jab again. Chris Eubank sees this coming. He parries, tries to jab back. But Conor Benn sort of slips his way onto the inside here. They try to find a little bit of space on close range here. And as you can see, this is quite an interesting thing because Conor Benn's head's engaged just under Chris Eubank's and he's pushing a little bit forward. But then once he starts to pull away and come a little bit higher, Chris Eubank's like, right, perfect. Now I'm going to throw my free on the inside. And he goes for a left hook to the body, a left uppercut with the same hand, and then a right hook around the head, before slipping away, bending at the waist to his left. Now, obviously, his left hand's down. Conor Benn takes the angle to the right with a little frame here with the lead hand. And then, boom, great right hook by Conor Benn, but also a lovely right uppercut to the body, by Chris Eubank. Same time trading. And then I think Conor Benn was a little bit lucky he got hurt by this body shot because he avoids the left hook and then tries to get straight back in with his own two shots before Chris Eubank smothers a little bit more. Now, obviously, what hand's free? His right hand for Chris Eubank, so he's going to double it up on the inside. He's then, once he creates some space, tries for a couple more shots, but they sort of only graze Conor Benn. Conor Benn, after using this slip, is going to try for a right hook around to the head and a left hook to the body, but then is sort of happy to engage in this position here. Chris Eubank doesn't like that. His left common theme in this fight. After the break, Chris Eubank's going to jab in. Conor Benn looks for a counter, blocks it with a high block, and then comes back with a two, but Chris Eubank's already smothered and bent at the waist to make sure that right hand avoids him. He then pushes Conor Benn a little bit backwards, forcing him to regain his base, and then tries for an uppercut, but it doesn't really land. And here they're battling for positioning a little bit. You can see that Conor Benn's trying to defend both hands at the same time. He's wrapping his hand around the left hand while blocking the right a little bit. But then Chris Eubank frees it and then goes for a 2-punch combination. He rolls under and then goes for another 2-punch combination. But if we look at Conor Benn, he's also going to realise that, okay, the hands are free. Okay, let me work. 1, 2, 3. Okay. After this right hook, Conor Benn's going to defend himself a little bit more. And this is when it can start to get a little bit messy. He's going to try wrap his right glove around Chris Eubank's left. He's going to try come up with a body shot here. He's smothering the right hand of Chris Eubank on the inside, because obviously he uses this punch to the body and then tries to come up, but the shoulder sort of smothers it. He pulls him towards him, and then Conor Benn's going to free his hands. He's going to go for this sort of very throwaway left uppercut, and then going to go for a right hand to the ear. Really good shot, and then smother straight away afterwards before trying again for 2 shots. Chris Eubank doing a very similar thing here, just pressing forwards, trying to free his hands, and then once he does, just landing 2 really short punches. He tries again for a right uppercut before defending himself with a low duck. He then comes back up, tries to defend the body shot, but it doesn't really work. And a 5-punch combination at close range, which is heavy work, especially in an 11th round. But it was this relentless work rate that won him the fight, in my opinion. You see, after Conor Benn lands this body shot, he isn't super defensively responsible. He tries to get sideways on, but then he just gets picked off. He's got his hands low. He then pulls away at this sort of longer range, tries to fire back with a jab, but Chris Eubank's already in that slip position and gets under. They clinch, they break, and a very similar exchange occurs. Eubank jabs in, Benn ducks under, and then you can see Conor Benn just go for a right hook to the body, and he's going to come back up with a right hook to the head. Eubank's trying a similar thing, the right uppercut to the body. He's getting sideways on, trying to defend himself. Does get caught as Conor Benn sort of creates a little bit of distance for himself at close range. But then straight on the retaliation, he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again. And then just keeps going with the 6 and the 7 and the 8 before he gets smothered and sort of falls into his own work. Now, again, these boxers, it's important to remember that how tired they were and how dehydrated Chris Eubank Jr. actually was. I don't think smothering his own work at close range was the ideal situation for him, but it's a situation with his energy that he had to do, and my God, did he do it well. Because being that tired and throwing 6, 7 punches at close range is hard work, especially when you're holding leather back, basically. Now, Conor Benn's a little bit lucky here because he has his hands down and is sort of like dipping from side to side, making sure he's picking his side at close range when he's smothering. As you can see, even here, once it is all smothered, Chris Eubank Jr. is going to push him off with his shoulder a little bit and then into the right hand before continuing his combination, using his weight, pushing him back a little bit more, and then going for another couple of punches. Is the technique great? No. But if you clean this up, this is really, really interesting work. You know, I really do believe that. Now, obviously, he's squared up. His feet are completely squared up here. Conor Benn's against the ropes. He's going to try slip inside, come back with his left hook, which does land. And here, both of their left hands down. They're both sideways on, so you know what's coming. It's going to be a trade-off right hooks. Eubank pulls away just a little bit before and keeps his shorter, and then that's why he lands with a really great shot here. He then tries to use his right shoulder to get bladed, and then boom, come up with a left uppercut before smothering with the shoulder again. And this is where it gets a little hard to study and maybe even a little bit pointless. They're tired, it's grueling, and you see them sort of trade 1 apiece, get sideways on, 2 apiece, get sideways on, if that makes sense. If we look at here, it's 1, smother and get sideways on, 1, smother, choose another side, get sideways on, take 1, throw 1 back, try get as low as possible with the head. All of these tactics are tactics of that if cleaned up and if done with a lot of energy can be really interesting. However, done after taking so much damage and your body taking so much of a beating, it obviously can be he's going to try get a little bit more aggressive. Instead of looking for counters, he's going to try set up his own right hand. And I will say this about this setup for the right hand. Throughout the whole fight, I thought it was very basic, and I know it was explosive, but for someone like Eubank, whose guard is usually a lead hand down, of course he's going to have a pretty good right hand defense. So you can't be basic with your setups for the right hand. Now, if Conor Benn had more creative setups for the right hand, then, oh my goodness, this could have been a completely different fight. But because it was basic, and you're going to see the same thing maybe 2-3 times in these next 30 seconds, it's very easy to see coming for someone like Chris Eubank, who deals a lot with getting under the right hand. So as you can see, Chris Eubank lands a little pop-in jab here. They sort of trade them, gets under, and then tries to get square on from this smother and work his punches a little bit at close range before defending himself. Conor Benn also doing a good job here. He's gone over the top. He's sort of used his right hand as a frame now, and he's going to go for a left hook, uppercut to the body, move back, and then try to go for another couple of straight away back in with the 1 and then the 2 over the top. Again though, Chris Eubank's not even in position, and you can see how tired he is. He manages to jab. They sort of trade again, ducks under the right hand, tries to block this left hook around to the body before looking for this really, really short counter here with this left hook and the right hand as well. He then tries to come in with a jab. Conor Benn just managed, and grueling this is getting for Chris Eubank. Again, Conor's going to go for the same setup. They're going to trade jabs, right hand over the top. These just do not land. And I really do think this was an important part of Chris Eubank getting into close range more often, because at a certain range, these may be hard to read and more dangerous if you make a mistake. But at this range, he probably feels comfortable that he can always get under them. Conor Benn lands this great left hook around to the body. It might be a little bit low, but I'm not sure. And then after these 3 powerful shots, look what Chris Eubank's going to do. He's going to come up from this roll, and then he's just going to go short pop shots. 1, 2, 3, 4. Lovely, lovely work. And to my amateurs, would you rather 4 light shots or 3 hard shots on the inside? That probably won't land. And to answer your question for you, Conor Benn actually takes a page out of this and goes, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Lovely, lovely work from both men. And Chris Eubank's like, no, I'm not going to let you one-up me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You understand? Now, how much of that lands? Not a huge amount, because Conor Benn gets under these 2 hooks at the end. But now again, Chris Eubank sort of looks like he's falling in after these shots as well. But he is rolling. And again, if this is cleaned up, this is a really, really nice tactic to use at close range. If you drill smothering into close range purposefully, this can be a really good addition to your 4 decisions. Anyway, Chris Eubank sort of turns him here. I think they hear the 10-second clock. So Chris Eubank's going to try to put in one last effort. And then he's going to go for these 2 uppercuts here. He's going to come around with a hook. Bend of the waist once he knows he misses, because he knows there's a counter coming. Gets under the right hand and pushes forwards. He does get caught a little bit with that left hook to the body, I think. And then again, go for this uppercut hook and hook around to the side again. Another 4 punches before sort of falling in. He does get caught with his club in right hand just around the ear. Conor Benn's retaliating. He goes for a couple of shots himself. You can see Chris Eubank sort of feel that engage into close range. He's trying to push Conor Benn back. He frees his right hand a little bit for the uppercut. He picks the other side to engage in, pushes him back a little bit more to the ropes, and then he's going to try one last effort. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the round ends. But if you see Conor Benn, he's sort of not really allowed this to happen, and he also lands these great shots here. He picks his own side at close range, gets on the other side, sets up his left hook to the body, and then tries for the right hand at the end, and I think that lands really well as well. Insanely good fight. I hope there was a lot to learn anyway, even if it's a tiresome round and a grueling one. But yeah, really enjoyed studying that, so hopefully you did too. Happy training, guys. Okay, see you next video.